What's up, everyone? Brandon Slay here from ThirstGym.com. Thirst for More podcast. This is going to be episode number 46, the first recording of 2025. Before we get going, I am live here on YouTube, so if you happen to be swinging by, I appreciate you coming by. If you are listening after the fact, again, you can catch these over on YouTube. I try to announce them semi-sporadically, but as of late, they've kind of just been on the fly to be able to get a recording done for when I have time, especially with the holidays and things we've had going on. And so we're going to continue to do these lives about once a week. And it's kind of my goal is to be able to do them that frequently, but I'm sure we'll have some weeks here that I miss. This is actually being recorded on January 6th, a Monday, which is not very common, but got back from vacation and there's a huge winter storm. So my facility was not open today because of the weather. And so therefore I was unable to film any kind of YouTube content coming into the week. Some of it was just running out of time and then being on vacation, all that stuff, just regular life stuff kind of happens. Somebody that kind of plans and works ahead quite a bit at times, and it just did not work out for my favor. So therefore I'm doing a live stream, put together some content for you guys here today on supplementation. In terms of what I think works best for the average person that's training, working hard, doing athletics, things of that nature. So, kind of going back towards the nutrition side of things in terms of what we're doing here. And again, because I kind of threw this together, I don't want to say last minute exactly, but unexpectedly, I guess you could say. This is going to be here off my computer that I've got in front of me. We'll kind of go over this. So, first one of the new year, when you're listening and when this actually drops, could just be depending upon where you're listening at it on your streaming device. And of course, always listen over on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you enjoy your podcasts, you can find us at. So today, like I said, we're going to talk about supplements for strength training, what works and what doesn't. This is going to be a practical approach to supplementation for performance. So really quickly, kind of doing some introductory based stuff. We're going to kind of talk about the overview and the importance of supplementation and training. Why should you do it? Brief discussion on some of the common misconceptions about supplements. Sometimes they get a bad rap. Sometimes they get some pretty good information. It just really kind of depends on where you're getting information from, who's saying it. If somebody's shelling or selling something, that's always going to, give you a different opinion from who you're hearing it from. And I will give you my full transparency in this video. Don't worry. And then our goal is going to be to help you identify the most effective supplements for strength, muscle growth, recovery, for your athletic-based endeavors and overall health and performance. So the first thing I want to kind of cover here in terms of the overview of the supplementation and what that means. So by supplement, we're talking about something that you're going to purchase on the shelf or online in today's world that is going to aid your actual nutritional approach. So in general, supplementation is usually going to be something that you can already get from your natural diet. And by diet, I mean what you're ingesting in your mouth. Not that you have to be on a special diet like keto or low carb, but through the nutrition that you normally consume, that what you would be getting, you're supplementing that with a particular supplementation or product to be able to usually fill a deficiency or a void or to add extra on top of what you're normally getting. So again, I kind of talked about deficiencies as kind of the number one area where supplementation really shines. Is if you happen to be deficient in something, you can supplement with it and remove that deficiency, and hopefully that help improve your health markers or your health and your nutrition, right? The way that you feel, the way that you perform. Very common one there is vitamin D3, right? If you happen to be like me, where it's basically half a foot or more snow outside. Not a whole lot of sunlight this time of year. Vitamin D3 is great because I can't get outside and get that. So by supplementing that, I get the health benefits of the vitamin D without actually having to get it naturally from the sun or ingesting it from other food, which would be very hard to ingest at a high amount. So the important supplementation is kind of fill those gaps, but then also stack them on top of the nutrition that we're already getting to get further performance enhancements. That's kind of what we're after, but also improve your health. Okay, this is not just performance related. This can be health related and should be health related. So some of the common misconceptions about supplements are that they can be illegal, or they're bad for you, or that you're wasting your money, or that you'll just pee them out, or they're bad for your kidneys, or it can make you lose your hair. Like, you'll find all sorts of weird side effects from different people depending upon what supplements you're actually looking at. and why you might be taking that exact supplement. So, again, depending on what you're taking is going to depend on what you hear about those misconceptions. Those are kind of the common ones that I listed. Can ruin your hormones, lose your hair, give you kidney issues. It's illegal. The only thing that's illegal are performance-enhancing drugs or steroids. I'm not going to talk about SARMs or any of those things, peptides. Those are somewhat questionable. While legal, they can be somewhat illegal. It just depends. But supplements are legal in terms of what you can do. They are not quote unquote FDA regulated, which means that the FDA doesn't have an FDA label. It's not been passed by the Food Drug Administration. Now they will look at the plants that are manufacturing these, but this is why the supplement companies that you purchase from need to be reliable, because we know that they can spike protein. I'm not going to go into all that, but they can spike certain supplements with different things to make you think that you're getting something that you're not. Or they'll use what are called proprietary blends, which just say, hey, we're going to put this muscle building matrix 5,000 in there. It's got 5,000 milligrams of this stuff. It's going to list all the things that are in there, but they don't have to list every single ingredient to the milligram that's in there. They just have to list that the ingredients in there, and then that's a proprietary blend. They don't want to tell you what that is. It's their secret sauce, and chances are their secret sauce is some pretty crappy sauce. So those are kind of the big misconceptions about supplements. If you get them from reputable sources and they label as full transparency, they're made in good quality manufacturing, GMCP approved, or whatever that acronym is off the top of my head, good manufacturing practices certified. Those are good companies that you can support and usually get your supplements from. Different ones are going to charge you different things depending upon where you get them. If you buy them through Amazon versus GNC versus go direct there or wholesale, you'll get some different prices. And, I'm not a supplement guru by any means, but I do have enough education of what works well for my clients and my athletes and what I do recommend and what I think is what is worth the money. That's kind of what I want you to get here today. These are going to be the supplements that are worth the money and are proven and backed by science that are worth your investment, in my opinion. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is good old-fashioned creatine. It's the gold standard supplement. It's probably the most studied supplement out there, and it's one of those that's been very touted and promoted for a very long time. And initially, there were all these thoughts that it was horrible for your kidneys, and it was basically a steroid. It's not true. Creatine is in your everyday food, which is why it's a supplement. But you just can't get as much creatine ideally through food as you can with supplement. It's so much easier to supplement. And it's a very cost-effective supplement as well. So what is creatine? It's just naturally occurring compound in the body, helping produce energy during high-intensity training. It's the most researched supplement for muscle growth and strength out there on the market. So we do know that it works for like 70 to 80% of people, I believe. There are some non-responders, but even the non-responders are probably going to get some water retention from that. Not like anything crazy, not like bloating, but you are going to get some cellular hydration. So there could maybe be some benefits there too. I don't know what the research says there. But for most people, it does work. And especially if you do athletics, I think it's a great and fantastic thing that you can easily add that's very cost-effective. So why does it work? So it increases your strength performance in anaerobic activities and your muscle mass, enhances recovery and brain health, and it supports muscle hydration leading to fuller muscles. So basically it lets your body restore the ATP in your body faster, and therefore you can perform better in anaerobic activities, which is usually lifting weights, being explosive, being powerful, which is then helps you add more muscle mass. So in theory, if you can squeak out another rep or another 5 pounds on every single exercise, this is just theory, every single exercise, you should be able to build more muscle mass and get stronger and be a better performer, what have you. So that's kind of how the supplement works, is that basically you should be able to regenerate some of that energy for those anaerobic activities, and that's going to let you be able to perform better and do better. It's also been shown, as I mentioned, to improve your recovery and your brain health, so let you recover from your training sessions faster, more ideally, and brain health is always obviously incredibly important, so that's just a added bonus to this. I talked about the hydration a little bit, into the cellular hydration, even for the non-responders, and leading to fuller muscles, letting you retain more water, look a little bit bigger, being hydrated. It's going to overall let you build more muscle and be stronger, all that great stuff. Creatine is pretty cheap. I should have looked up some prices here before I did this. So, if I just look up, NutriBio is who I'm going to go with on basically all this. But I'm just going to look up their creatine, and their creatine monohydrate powder is 150 grams is $12.99. 1,000 grams is $60. 5 grams is the serving size. So you do the math, 30 serving thing is $13. Pretty dang cheap. And obviously the more that you get, the cheaper that it is. And hey, guess what? If you happen to buy it with my discount code that I'll give you here just a little bit, you can save 10% so you can get even cheaper. But again, very cost-effective base supplement there. So the way that it works is that creatine increases the availability of the ATP, and which is short for adenosine triphosphate, which is basically the body's energy currency. It's basically how all your cellular stuff works at the very basic level, especially when it comes to contracting and relaxing muscles and things like that. So this will lead to improved performance during short bursts of intense exercise and greater muscle size. And then we talk about the water retention side. It's going to, you're going to have some initial water retention when you first start taking it, which is normal and temporary. And then your body will basically kind of excrete what you don't need once it realizes the muscles are full and you don't have too much water retention. You don't have to do the whole loading as people used to believe. So as long as you take the creatine, usually it's theorized once a day. It's kind of like that sweet spot. You're going to have enough creatine in there. So that's kind of how it works. I already kind of talked about that. I got a little bit ahead of myself. And then the effectiveness. So, creatine is fantastic for vegans or people that are low in the meat side of their diets, because creatine is very heavily stored in meats, especially red meat. And so if you're not eating meat, you're going to have a hard time getting that nutrient or that supplement. We'll say a supplement here, but it is a nutrient. And so by supplementing with it, you can get a lot of good performance benefits without having to still eat meat. So awesome thing there. But it still works for regular meat eaters. If you're eating beef and things like that, you're still going to get the benefits. But the vegans will probably see a bigger performance enhancement because, again, they're not getting that through their natural diet, which you and I that do eat meat probably are. So the creatine benefits individuals to lower dietary intake of creatine without the meat consumption. So the dosage, 5 grams daily, consistently. I would just take it 5 grams every single day. Like I said, there's no need to cycle it. That's been debunked and proven that we don't have to do that. It's safe for long-term use. Again, assuming you have no kidney-based issues or no pre-existing issues that you believe that you shouldn't have this. If you are in doubt, talk to a medical professional. Your medical professional may be an idiot, but that's my disclosure, is that you should talk to a medical professional. But everything should be fine. So some of the common misconceptions about creatine, again, kind of hit myself here, but the kidney concerns, creatine does not harm kidneys in healthy individuals based on all the research that we have. We just know that's true. So if someone asks you about that, research, has debunked that. You can probably just do a quick Google search and find that. I think there were at one point even poison claims that creatine would poison you or that it was poisonous. This is just a myth. This is not true. It's safe and beneficial when used properly. So, don't eat a whole jug of it by any means, but your 5 grams a day is going to be completely fine. And water retention does not indicate that something is harmful. If everybody here has probably been bloated at some point in their life, and that's just your body holding onto water. Creatine is going to do the same thing, but it's not going to be necessarily a bad thing. It's just your body taking that creatine, holding on to some extra water stores, totally fine. Again, like I said, your body will excrete what it doesn't need over time. And if you just stay hydrated enough in the first place, make sure you're doing that, everything will kind of balance out fine. I have never personally felt bloated on creatine. Even when I, was not taking it and then started taking it and then didn't take it again, I never really felt the bloating effect. So again, individual basis, I'm just N equals 1, but something to note there. So that's the first one. Probably the most common one that I get as a strength coach working with athletes is creatine good for my kid? Should they take it? Yes, I think there's nothing wrong with it. But again, it is a supplement. So if your diet already sucks, don't take the creatine expecting to hide all the deficiencies you have in your diet, but creatine is a cost-effective thing. And if you happen to hear my son in the background, I apologize. Next is going to be the role of multivitamins here in supplementation. So this is definitely one that I think gets kicked around a lot, whether you should or you shouldn't take it. I'm a firm believer of it myself. That's just me. So what are multivitamins? They're a blend of the essential vitamins and minerals to fill dietary gaps. So ideally, again, you get these through all your food that you eat, but we know that with the way that fruits and vegetables, seasonality of food, we're not actually going out and hunting and gathering our food anymore. We can just take a vitamin and we can cover all those bases. And that's why I think it's a great thing to consider, because it lets you just fill the dietary gaps. That way you can still eat kind of what you like and what fits well to your palate. If you happen to be a little more of a seasonal eater, you can, again, still eat seasonal, but still fill those dietary gaps you might have. So again, it's just going to make sure that you don't miss out on any of those vital nutrients, especially when your diet's not perfectly balanced. And it's also an affordable, simple way to support your overall health. I mean, everyone's seen the Flintstone vitamins and then the gummies and whatever. It's, again, a very easy way to make sure you're checking all those boxes for health, because usually when you start to have deficiencies in a lot of vitamins and minerals, we start to see hormones and mood and energy and overall just general well-being suffer. And so we don't want to be that. We don't want to have scurvy, right? So very easy thing and very cost efficient. For most of these, it's 1 pill a day. Sometimes it can be 2 or 3. And some of them are so hyperdosed that you can actually cut back from what the recommendation is on the bottle. But again, you need to make that decision yourself. That's something that I personally do whenever they're super overdosed. I typically tend to pull back on the actual number of them that I take. So the key benefits of multivitamins to support your overall health. Again, provide that daily insurance policy to cover any nutritional deficiencies that you might have. I mean, that can vary from season to season, as we talked about with like the sunlight and vitamin D. But you can also hyper focus on certain ones if you need to. But again, multivitamins kind of cover your bases year round. It's convenient. So it's super easy to incorporate what you do. You just literally take it with a meal, especially if it's only 1 pill a day. It can be with your breakfast, it can be with your dinner. You just take it at the same time, and you're going to make sure that you're doing that. So not a hard thing to do. It's very cost effective, so you don't need to splurge on, big time premium brands. Affordable options work just fine. The big thing that you'll find from the ones that are on premium brands or supposedly special, again, they're usually just very heavily dosed, like they're overdosed on what they need. And these would only be beneficial for people that are eating a massive amount of calories, because clearly the bigger the person you are or the more food that you need to eat, the more of these nutrients that you need. So if they're dosed for a 2,000 calorie diet and you're eating 4,000, theoretically you probably need 2 of them, right? So if you happen to buy it from somebody that makes one that's got a lot more oomph to it, it's got a lot more of everything in it, then you might be able to get away with their 1 pill, where if you aren't that big, something regular is probably going to be sufficient, especially if you're eating relatively well to begin with. Again, this is just a safe catch-all. It's not meant to replace this. You just eat completely trash food, you take a vitamin and everything's kosher. It doesn't work that way. Again, the best thing that you do is you just find one that you can take 1 a day, and that will cover. Again, a very cost-effective thing for most of these. Again, going back to NutriBio, I think a regular multivitamin is, again, this is also, I will admit, a little bit more on the pricey side. But again, they do have 4 pills per serving. I personally take 2, so 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. And there is a 120 count, which is supposed to be a month, for $32. So you're basically looking at $1 per day. But again, if I take half that, now I'm breaking it down to 50 cents per day. If you only took 1 of those pills, you're looking at $0.25 a day. So again, very, very cost-effective base supplement there. All right, now we're going to talk about the often thing, protein. I think everybody kind of understands that protein is probably the number 1 supplement outside of creatine that gets pushed onto you early on. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing. It can be a good thing that it ensures that you're getting enough protein to build muscle and recover from your workouts, which when you start exercising, if your protein intake is trash, that can be a problem. But I do think some people over push the protein supplements. I think it's great to have it in case and to make sure that if you happen to need to increase your protein intake, you need a lot of protein, you're a bigger person, or you struggle with getting in protein, fantastic. Use protein supplements as you need. But if you can get majority of it through your natural food, then you don't have to worry about it. So again, personal preference there. But protein is essential for growth. And we're going to talk about some of the different kinds and things like that. So why does it matter? Protein is crucial for muscle growth and repair, recovery, all that great stuff. And then whey protein is easily absorbed and a top choice for most athletes. Generally, you'll find when you go into a supplement store and you go to purchase a protein-based product, it's probably going to be a whey protein-based product that you're looking at on the shelf. Not always, but generally. Or maybe a blend of some kind. But whey protein is the one that's pushed. And I'll talk about a little bit more here in a second, but it's also usually a little bit more of a costly one. But generally speaking, whey is considered a good option for most people. So if you see a whey protein, if you're trying to get a protein, you don't know what to get, whey is probably your safe bet. So the types of protein that we have, we've got whey, we've got casein, and we've got plant-based. So whey and casein are the two primary proteins that build up milk. And so what we do from a supplementation side is that we basically split those things. We create a whey and we create a casein. Now you can buy blends to where they're together like they are in milk. It just takes out all the fat and sugar and all that great stuff, and you just primarily get the protein. Some of them take out the lactose, so the lactose intolerant based people can still take the protein and get a high amount of protein and get the benefits of protein powder without having any kind of GI issues. Excuse me. But those are the two main kinds. You're going to find beef, you're going to find egg, you're going to find soy, you're going to find hydrolyzed. Most of that stuff doesn't matter. You spend your money on what you want to spend it on, but generally speaking, for most people, whey and casein are kind of the two main categories you're going to buy your protein in. The whey being the quick absorption kind. So it's ideal post-workout. It's ideal maybe first thing you get up in the morning, you've not had any kind of food. It's also great to stack with another meal. If you just need to get some more protein in, that works great. Generally, that's kind of the best place because it's fast absorbing. That's why it got very popular post-workout, especially in like the 90s and early 2000s, was that it thought that you're going to be in that anabolic window and that's going to help you build muscle faster. Who knows, really? I did that when I was younger because that's what everybody said to do. Now I'm not so much. I still have a protein shake after I lift, but that's just because I can't go home and eat a full meal. If I was going home to eat a full meal, chances are I might actually skip the protein shake and just go home and have some more beef, right? But that's up to you. Works great when you're on the go. Casein is a slower absorption, which is going to be great for like the bedtime or like in between meals that we get that slow, steady trickle effect of the amino acids from the protein. So if you know that you're not going to be able to get a ton of meals in, mixing your whey and your casein together or buying a blend or just taking a casein works great when you know you're not going to get a whole lot of food in, so you can still get that slow trickle of the aminos and you can still ideally build muscle, build tissue, recover, all that great stuff. So again, kind of personal preference here, but if you have a certain reason you want to take it, like before bed with the casein or post-workout with the whey, again, I support that. Personally for myself, in the morning, I have a full scoop of whey and half a scoop of casein, and that's what I have for my morning breakfast along with some nuts almost every single day. And then I go to the gym, go to work. And then when I get back from the gym is usually when I have a next solid meal. So having some casein, some whey, I know that I'm getting small trickles of aminos all that time, even though I go 4 or 5 hours without food, right? Because I get up early. There's also the plant-based option, which is great for vegetarians and vegans. If you are not a vegetarian vegan, I would suggest sticking with the whey and casein, but if you want to have plant-based, you certainly can. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, this basically just uses the proteins from plants to be able to create this. And pea protein is usually the common one. You might also see hemp. There may be some other ones, but those are usually the two most common that I see listed in plant-based proteins. So how to use protein supplements? Very simple. Timing. The best time for protein is within 30 minutes post-workout, but it can be consumed at any time based on your needs. Again, if you're going from the gym, you got your workout in, and you know it's going to be some time until you can get some real solid food in you, having that protein shake around that window is ideal. Even pre-training isn't a bad thing, maybe half a scoop. That way you've got some aminos running through your bloodstream while you're working out. A typical serving is probably between 20 and 30 grams, depending upon the company, the scoop. But that's usually what you're going to find is the average is at 20 to 30 grams. So ensure that you're meeting your total protein needs from foods first, then supplement if necessary. Kind of what I said earlier. There's nothing better than eating beef and eggs and chicken and fish, turkey. Those are all fantastic protein sources, and they are going to digest a little slower. The amino profiles are going to be different. You're just going to be able to, it's also more cost effective, more cases than not, that you're going to be able to build the most of your tissue and recover from that. But use the supplements if you need to. Again, especially if it comes down to timing, convenience, or you have to just be a very large person to be able to hit your protein goals, or you really don't like meat. Again, a great supplement. Your casein, same thing. It's going to be about 20 to 30 grams a scoop, and then ideally you take that around bed or those long stretches that I mentioned, and then you should be good to go. You can buy them individually, mix them like I do, and you can kind of make it your own. You can buy them in pre-blends, which also work well. You find what works best for you and your circumstance, but protein supplements are fantastic. There's nothing wrong with them. There are no negative stipulations. They're not bad with anything. The issue with protein powders, I will say, that has been not really recent, but some companies have got flack for spiking proteins, which basically just means they put basically spike the amino acid profile of them that's got more of these amino acids than this, but really the protein's not really quite there, so you're kind of paying for something that you're not getting, and then it's kind of a waste. So don't see that a whole lot anymore because so many people have kind of called out on it and caught, and people are using third-party softwares to detect this. So usually you're not going to see that as much anymore. Protein can be expensive. So, if you get whey protein isolate, the most ideal isolate outside of the hydrolyzed, it's going to be a little more expensive, but it will depend upon your digestive system. So me personally, I've got to basically take isolate because whey protein concentrate upsets my stomach. My GI system does not handle that well. Again, personal preference. My recommendation is to try a friend or a buddy or somebody that takes concentrate and is okay with it, and try it and see if you have issues. If you notice you get those nasty protein farts, whey protein concentrate is not for you. You need to focus probably more on an isolate because you have something in the concentrate is affecting your ability to absorb what you're taking. Now, if you could take a massive 2 or 3 serving thing, then that could be it. But generally speaking, you should be able to have 1 to 2 servings without any kind of digestive issues at all. And for me, isolate checks that bill. Again, you can try the hydrolyzed as well. But you're going to get different costs there. I'm not going to break these down or look them up because of the companies and whatever, it's going to be very different. But I would say on average, generally speaking, you're going to look at around $15-ish a pound, plus or minus, depending upon what kind of you get. I usually buy 5-pound jugs, and those are usually $80 from NutriBio for the isolate. So again, like I said, a little bit more costly, but that's what I have to have for my GI system. Casein seems to be a little bit cheaper, but you get the idea. So let's talk about pre-workout supplements. Are they worth it? What they typically do, what they contain, are caffeine, beta-alanine, nitric oxide boosters, and the goal of them is to boost energy, focus, endurance, and overall performance during intense training. So my recommendation is that you don't need them. Right? If you get enough sleep, you get enough food, you come in amped to train naturally, it's a good sign. However, I'm a real person just like you. There are days you're going to need to pick me up, kick me in the ass, good shot of caffeine, get a good pump going, get the juices flowing, get to feeling great. Pre-workouts can be good for that. The key here is that you don't want to rely on pre-workouts. Use them for the performance boost when you need them, but ensure that your training is solid and your and that your nutrition is solid. Because if those things are solid, then you're going to be less likely to need that supplement. Now, I will say that the big issue that I have with them is that working with young youth performance athletes, the first supplement they come to me with is, what pre-workout should I take? None. You're 15. You don't need a pre-workout. You need to go to bed, eat real food, come in to train hard, and use that natural testosterone that you have in your body to fuel your workout. Pre-workout is pretty expensive for what it is, especially considering nothing in there outside of maybe the creatine is going to truly build any muscle. It's all going to be things that help promote and improve performance with that boost. But if you don't use that boost, then it doesn't really do anything special, right? So to me, pre-workouts are a waste of money for a majority of people. I do think it may be not bad to have one on hand if you need one sporadically here and there. But again, I would not waste my money on it if you don't need it. I would also say something that you can consider, which I've done myself, is find something that has a nootropic in it, or nootropic, for pronounced both ways, which basically is going to help stimulate your brain and your mind and make you more focused. And I think it's what most people like about pre-workouts is the mental clarity and focus. So if you can find a mental clarity and focus-based supplement outside of the pre-workout, you probably will spend less money and still have that same effect or what you're looking for in a pre-workout. Now, you're not going to have the beta-alanine tingles or that caffeine high if it's caffeine-free, but that mental focus can be a benefit. And for a lot of people, that's what they're looking for out of the pre-workout, or the side effects that they feel is what they like. So let's talk about something about here called overall supplementation. Is it a real thing? Are there dangers? So for majority of these supplements I talked about, more is not better. I kind of gave you that sweet spot of what you should be supplementing with. This is not a thing where you just keep taking more and it gets better. It's not like illegal drugs, right? It doesn't work that way. So you take too many supplements, you can lead to unwanted side effects or health risks. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure, again, if you took too much creatine, you're going to have some kind of issue. If you took too much protein, again, you're probably going to have some kind of GI-based issue. Take the recommended doses on the label, and then usually don't surpass that, and you probably will be fine. You want to focus on the quality over the quantity and only supplement what's necessary. So again, you don't want a giant room full of supplements and figuring out what you're going to take, right? And you got all these things to choose from. It's ridiculous. I kind of had an issue like that whenever I was in college. Is that I tried so much different stuff, and in hindsight, I wish I would not have. I wasted so much money, which back then, supplements were pretty cheap. Housing crash, recession, things weren't too terribly expensive. But man, did I waste a lot of money, a lot of time. Rather, if I would just focus on these basics I talked about, I probably would have made so much better progress in hindsight. So again, it can be a giant waste of money. Avoid the unnecessary or unproven products. Stick to the evidence-based supplements like creatine and protein. As research evolves on some of these other supplements, then you can begin to experiment. You probably shouldn't experiment with yourself. You're going to have people start saying, hey, try this new supplement here, this one from here, this peptide, whatever, this arm. Don't do it. Just stick to the evidence-based supplements, because they are going to be all that you need outside of the things that you need to fill your gaps with your deficiencies. So the multivitamin's not cutting it. Then, you go get blood work done and have that blood work tell you, hey, this is something I'm deficient in. This is something I need to supplement with. Generally speaking, your physician, your medical professional will help guide you through that. And I would listen to them on what they have to say and reading your blood work. But if you're not deficient in anything, everything I listed here should be fine for you to take with no issues. Your health should be fine, and it will help improve your health. So supplements for beginners, first, again, focus on your diet and consistency. So for newer lifters, so if you're lifting or exercising for 3 years or less, to me as a beginner, you should be prioritizing your whole foods and consistency in training. That's the number one thing, and your sleep. Those are the three things you should focus on. Hitting the gym, or exercising however many days a week you commit to, whether that be 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever works best for your lifestyle. Prioritizing your eating whole quality foods, so quality grains, quality proteins, quality fats, fruits, vegetables, enough water, salt, and hydration, and then enough sleep. 7 to 9 hours ideally per day. If you get some 6-hour ones here, try to make it up on a different day so that your average is about the same. Again, I know you can't make up sleep, but if your average per day is in that 7 to 9 range, you're going to be in a great spot in terms of making sure that you can see progress as somebody that's new to the gym. Multivitamins, protein powders are probably enough for the beginner. You can probably dabble in some creatine, but if you're taking that multivitamin, to make sure that you're filling in those gaps and taking a protein powder post-workout and doing the whole food, training consistently, everything's going to be great. So key thing I want you to take away from this is that supplements won't replace a good diet and a solid workout routine. So build your foundation first if you happen to be a newer or less experienced lifter. Easiest things you can do. Big stones that you can turn over there. So your supplements for your intermediate people. So again, those that are training from 3 to maybe about 7 years, 6 years, 8 years, depending upon how much you can kind of pushing things and really working hard. I'd say 3 to 5 years for sure, up to 6 to 7, depending upon, individuals. But you can start considering adding some of these other things I talked about, the creatine, maybe upping your protein from having 1 scoop a day to 2, looking into maybe omega-3s. I didn't talk about that, but that would be something that you can consider, especially if you don't eat a whole lot of fish. You can really start to take your supplementation game and base it based upon your specific performance goals. So, if you're trying to lose weight, then you can ensure that maybe, hey, a protein powder might be great because you're not going to be eating a whole lot. So you need to have your protein content higher because your carbohydrate and fat content's lower. You'll be able to snack a little bit more. Omega-3s are great for mental clarity and brain health and decreasing inflammation. Creatine will get stronger, build more muscle, be more explosive. That's part of your goals. So you can start to tailor some of these based on what you need off of your performance goals. Again, they work for everything, but you don't have to necessarily take all these all the time. And then you want to focus on your recovery. So, well, it's not very popular. People are going to say, hey, it's maybe not the greatest thing. Supplements like BCAAs or protein can help reduce your soreness and support muscle growth. So you can start looking at this stuff around your intra-workout time if you happen to be that intermediate-based lifter. If you are eating enough protein, you will hear that BCAAs are useless or they're not ideal. You could be just peeing them away. I know personally for me, amino acids during training do help me feel recovered better. But again, that's just personal preference. That's what I did all throughout my competitive days. And I still train with those amino acids even while I train because, again, it does make me feel more recovered just for me. But personal preference. You can skip without those. But again, as I talked about, based on your specific goals for that time of lifter or trainee. So now going to be the advanced person. So people with 7, 6, 8+ years of training experience underneath the bar. Now we can really customize what you need based upon what your goals are. You spend enough time in training. You're probably pretty strong. You're probably pretty jacked. You've probably been lean at some point in your life. Maybe even fat at some point in your life and have went back and forth between the two. Right? You've probably done quite a bit of things in this amount of time frame. So you can be a little more advanced looking at things like things that support your joints, different recovery formulas, different performance enhancers, more trial-based things. Again, I'm not really big into those, but if you've been in there that long, you're probably looking for those things for that extra 1% to 2% edge, especially if you happen to be competitive or you're competing in some kind of bodybuilding or powerlifting or strongman or weightlifting based endeavor, then these things might start to add up and make sense once you've got these years of experience behind you. If you don't have these years of experience behind you, they're definitely a waste of time. But something like a joint support, for example, works great if you've really been going hard on the weights. You can probably feel those things. That might be a supplement that's worth considering. You can also basically hire somebody to help you with your nutrition regimen. Sports nutritionists or dietitian, things like that. They can recommend things they think work best, especially based off your blood work and your goals. So you can find different people that are more than happy to help you fine-tune that supplement based regimen for you and your training and your recovery. That can be both legally and illegally. I'm only going to talk about the legal stuff, but you can usually find somebody that can help you with that. And a good coach generally is going to make recommendations very similar to what I have here. If you are younger, not going to recommend a whole lot of supplementation. If you're intermediate, there could be some things that could be beneficial to help us make progress a little better. If you're advanced, there certainly probably are some things that can really help us here and there, especially if we are deficient in anything or we're really trying to extend our career from a competitive side. So, quick conclusion, final thoughts here. Wrap this up with a pretty bow. So, supplements should complement a balanced diet, consistent training, proper recovery, not replace them. Can't stress that enough. I wish younger me would have heard that a long time ago. Supplement what you need. Don't rely on them. Focus on your whole foods, your hydration, and your sleep first, and then use your supplements strategically to aid your performance and your benefits long term, and you will see much better progress over the course of your training career. You're also going to save a lot of money. That money that you can put into other things like equipment that you're going to need for your competitive stuff, your gym memberships, especially if you're having to be traveling, that money could be offset to help you travel to a better facility to train or pay for a more expensive place to train, or it could let you hire a coach or somebody to do your programming so you have a little less thought process there. There's lots of different things you can spend that money on versus supplements that you don't need. Again, the supplements that I recommend that you consider probably across the board are going to be creatine, protein, and multivitamins are going to be the most solid foundation, and any other deficiencies that you might have based off of what you find from a medical professional and that they recommend, that would also go without saying. But if all that stuff checks out good, those are probably the three big things that I would recommend for most people to make sure that they're checking on. And from there, personal preference and how much wallet you're willing to open up and just break the bank on, that's up to you. So that wraps up today's video here of all my supplementation stuff. I really appreciate you if you came on here for this. Definitely something that's very beneficial. I have actually a question, and it's from Honey Vanilla. Sorry I did not see this. I was kind of following my outline there and, was not looking at the comment side of things. Someone asked me, what do I need to study to know what you know? Very underrated channel. First of all, I appreciate that, Honey Vanilla. So I'll address this really quick here on the live stream. It's not related, but that's okay. I'll answer it for you anyways. What do I need to study to know what you know? My recommendation here is that ideally you go to school. You don't have to, but ideally you go to school because you're going to get 4 years of a bachelor's degree in exercise science related field. That's going to let you build a bullshit detector, let you understand a lot of the science, give you some nutritional information, some training information, all that great stuff. That is a great place to start. And then obviously you can then go down the certification route of getting certified personal trainer or CSCS or USAW. Those are the three that I have, but there's other one out there. There's other certifications. Doesn't really matter. And then that gives you another piece of education. It also gives you a blanket of liability. And then the other big thing there is then to move into like an internship based approach and then continue to educate outside there. So you got to be able to read articles, continuing to do the educational side outside of the classroom, even after you have a classroom. Now, if you skip the classroom side of it, then you got to make up for that. So someone like me that has 6.5 years of schooling because I didn't finish everything on time like I was supposed to, on top of my certifications and all the other stuff that I've paid for, you add up how many hours I've learned about nutrition and training and recovery and all that stuff. It's a long time. There's years of knowledge that I've had to acquire. So it's not necessarily an easy thing to come by. So again, that kind of gives you hopefully an idea of where you can study stuff to get you back into a field like this if you happen to be curious. And I'll kind of leave that there on the screen one more time for anybody that happens to be watching. So again, that wraps up today's video on supplementation. If you happen to swing by, I really appreciate it. If you're listening after the fact, on your favorite streaming channel, I really appreciate it. You're definitely listening after the fact. This is the first video of 2025. Glad to be on here. Definitely been a rough start to the week with the snow, blizzard, and storm, whatever it was that we had, as I kind of mentioned. But Again, I'm going to be uploading some more videos and stuff this week. This is just kind of a stand-in because of being kind of snowed in for the day. So if you happen to swing by again, thanks. I appreciate it. Again, if you happen to find any of these supplements useful, you can go to NutriBio.com and enter the code SMITLEY10. That's SMITLEY10. So you get 10% off any supplement order from NutriBio. And, they do eventually give me something in return for that. I really appreciate that. But I've been with NutriBio for over a decade now. They're the only supplement company that I recommend. There are other great supplement companies out there. Not going to say there's not, but those are the ones that I'm going to recommend. Here on the channel is NutriBio. And again, I can help you save some money and get some good quality supplements that I really trust. So again, thanks for joining in for today's episode 46 on supplements, and I'll see you at the next episode.